Namaste nerds, this is Navinad, the Budget Pub Stomper. Today's video is going to be, or this week's video, this video is going to be about, well, it's going to be the response to a couple, actually I guess 3 separate questions, well, 3 people asking basically 2 separate questions. This is like me taking requests in a way. So I was asked about a $100 Turbo Adnauseum deck, which I thought, maybe that's a bit much to ask. Like that seemed a little bit of a tall task. And then the other thing was, would it make sense to be, or I had requests for building Rograhk, son of Roger, building Roger decks on a budget. And my first thought was, with Roger, it doesn't really make sense to build it on a budget because, I mean, all of the payoffs, I mean, Roger is a cEdh mainstay, one of the most powerful commanders that you can put in your command zone. But all of the things that make him really broken are expensive. That's what I was first thinking. But actually, after a little bit more reflection and looking around, poking around more, I found that a lot of the things are really expensive, but some of the things aren't so expensive. And one of those things would be Tevesh. So this is the culmination of all 3 of those people talking to me about 2 different things. This is a Turbo Adnauseum deck on $100 using Roger. So we have a real nice natural synergy here. And the way this deck works, like one of the big problems is if you load your deck up full of rituals and rituals and mana, and you can't find your Adnauseum or your Peer into the Abyss or whatever your payoff is, then your deck just kind of doesn't do anything. But Tevesh Szat is going to help us get around that, because with this deck, we've loaded it with rituals and mana batteries and mana rocks, to help us hit that 5 or 7 mana pretty quickly for either Adnauseum or Peer into the Abyss. But we've got Tevesh Szat to ramp into in case we can't find, because we don't have the ritual, or we don't have the tutor density. But casting like a turn 2 or a turn 3 Tevesh Szat, and then being able to use Roger as a 0 mana draw 3, and then a 2 mana draw 3. So that's now 2 mana draw 6, 5 mana draw 8, or I'm sorry, 9. It seems okay, right? So it's Tevesh Szat is sort of like going to be our one of our payoffs for having Rograhk in the command zone, but it's also our Adnauseum at home. Okay. So this, I mean, Tevesh Szat draws cards. I mean, it really does draw a lot of cards. If you're not familiar with the commander, it just says you can +2 it to make 2 0/1s, which you can eat later. But the +1 ability says if you can sacrifice a creature to draw 2 cards, but if it's a commander, draw 3 cards. Note that I didn't say if it's your commander, and that's where some of the pieces that we'll get into in a little bit come into play here. So I built this deck as kind of a turbo-ish Adnauseum deck, and it can absolutely fire that Adnauseum off on, in step turn 3 or turn 4 main phase, definitely turn 5 main phase with mana up. It can do all those things, or Peer into the Abyss. But it also is a really good grindy deck. I mean, it just, we've got a lot of value engines and value pieces and things to sacrifice and ways to sacrifice them, and interaction, removal, counter magic. We've got even discard spells. We've got a lot to do, because if you're going to make a deck that has the potential to grind, you need to give it the right tools to play a grindy game, right? Like removal and like stacksy pieces and value engines, and we've got all that. But we've also got all the rituals that we could, and mana batteries and rocks and stuff, to get that Turbo Adnauseum thing to work at least a pretty decent % of the time. So let's talk about the win cons first, and then I want to talk to you about the things I came up with, the ways that I came up with to utilize Rograhk. Well, since we already started with that, let's continue on the how are we using Roger on a $100 budget. So of course, number 1, Tevesh Szat. Number 2, what else do we have? Found some things. We can sacrifice it to a Cabal Therapy. That's not nothing, but that's not exciting. What else do we have? Oh, Flare of Duplication, $1.42. One of the best things that's happened to the Roger decks maybe ever. I mean, we don't have access to Jeska's Will, the free interaction like your Fierce Guardianship cycle, like deflecting swats, and Mox Amber. We don't have access to that stuff. But we've got Flare of Duplication. We've got Tevesh. We've got Skull Clamp. We can repeatedly Skull Clamp the guy, which also just works good with our Tevesh because it makes 0-1 throw tokens. And we've got Springleaf Drum. We've got Deadly Rollick. We've got ways to take advantage of the fact that we have Roger in the command zone. So Rograhk does not feel like a waste in this deck whatsoever. We've got plenty. In fact, we've got so many ways to use our Rograhk that I ended up throwing in a couple of 0 mana creatures that we can farm for value when we've already cast our Rograhk, and gotten rid of them for a Infernal Plunge or Diabolic. Where is it? Oh, it's a sorcery. Infernal Plunge. Yeah, so we get to add another, like a red Dark Ritual to our deck because of Roger. And then the other big payoff is Culling the Weak, a better Dark Ritual because of Roger. So these are the ways we're utilizing Roger, but it's also the ways that are going to get us to our, relatively fast Adnauseum or Peer into the Abyss. Again, we don't have the tutor density, so sometimes we're not going to find our Adnauseum. And when we can't find our Adnauseum, our grind plan, we're not going to be ramping to nowhere. We're going to be ramping into Tevesh Szat, sacrificing Rograhk, draw 3 cards. Play Roger again, sack him again, draw 3 cards. And if we're going to be kind of geared up to do like the long battle, we have to play interaction and removal and kind of countermeasures, which the deck does have a good number of. But let's talk about the win conditions, because that's normally how I do my deck techs. I talk about the win cons first, and we go from there. So the main point of the deck is to get to 7 mana as fast as possible and draw half your deck, at which point you will be able to win the game almost certainly. And the other way is to get to 5 mana. Now with 5 mana for Adnauseum, we cast the Adnauseum. How many cards are we actually going to draw with it? Well, let's check the average mana value of the deck. So the average mana, if we've cast Adnauseum, so if Adnauseum is not in our deck because we're casting it, is 1.37. So that means that we're going to draw, every card we draw with Adnauseum is going to cost less than 1.5 life. So we ought to be able to draw easily 20 cards off of an Adnauseum. Peer into the Abyss, obviously we draw half the deck. So what are we doing when we draw half the deck? Well, we're using Inner Fire, and we're mixing that with Reiterate. And so Inner Fire gives us mana equal to the number of cards in our hand. We cast that, and we cast Reiterate, paying the buyback. We copy the Inner Fire. We pay the buyback. We put another Inner Fire to make another 20 mana. We use the 20 mana to pay for the next copy of Reiterate and buyback, not copy of, but the next Reiterate and buy it back. And then we Reiterate again and buy it back. And we make infinite mana, and then we just have to have a Ghostfire Slice or a Lightning Bolt that we can start reiterating, buy it back, reiterating, buy it back with Lightning Bolt on the stack, so we can cast the Lightning Bolt a million times and murder everybody that way. Or, there's other ways. I mean, if we have Peer into the Abyss, even if we go infinite mana, we can cast Peer into the Abyss. That's gonna get us to our other kill condition. And the other main win condition is just kind of the standard run-of-the-mill dual caster mage plus twin flame. So we have whatever on the field, a goblin, a mind sticker goblin, whatever this guy's called. And this thing will make some random amount of mana, but it's always going to be mana positive. It'll be at least 4, often 5, and sometimes 6. So if this guy makes 5 mana and we twin flame, that's pretty good. But we hold priority on twin flame. So twin flame copies a creature. So we cast our twin flame, copying whatever, and then we hold priority, and we respond to our twin flame by casting dual caster mage. And the dual caster mage comes down and makes a copy of the twin flame. And the twin flame copy comes down and makes a copy of dual caster mage. And that makes a copy of twin flame. And that makes a copy of dual caster mage. And we do that until we've got 10 billion hasty dual caster mages, and we beat in for infinite damage. We murder everybody that way. Or if we for some reason have to do this post combat, maybe we find our twin flame combo with Azra Oddsmaker. We've got Mayhem Devil, which is just good in the deck because we're sacrificing a bunch of stuff. But also, if we get the dual caster twin flame combo off post combat and we can't swing with our dual casters, when we sacrifice them, we can ping everybody to death with our Mayhem Devil. Then we've got some synergy pieces that work with specifically Tevesh Szat, and also some of the other pieces in the deck. But they're specifically here because we're playing Tevesh Szat. But you guys know how I like to layer my combos, or layer my the synergy for my deck. And I'm talking here about things like Seize the Spotlight. So for 3 mana, each opponent chooses Fame or Fortune. If they chose Fame, you get one of their creatures until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste, and you keep it until the end of the turn. Or if you have Tevesh Szat, you sacrifice it, and if it's their commander, you draw 3 cards. Or they can choose the other thing, and they can allow you to produce a treasure and draw a card. I think a lot of times what will end up happening here is you're just going to pay 3 mana. You're going to make 3 treasures, which is going to be like a really good mana battery, but you're also going to draw 3 cards. So it's kind of like a mana battery that draws 3 cards, or if somebody wants to give you creatures, then you can sacrifice them for value with Tevesh Szat and with some of the other things in the deck, like some of the rituals that actually work with Rograhk. But these things like this really is kind of my usual thing. Like, it's layered synergy soup, right? Yes, we can use Culling the Weak on Roger, but we can also use Culling the Weak on the little tokens that we make with Tevesh Szat. And yes, we can sacrifice the tokens that we make with Tevesh Szat for value, or we can clamp them with Skull Clamp and draw cards. But we can also clamp an Ornithopter and then sacrifice it to Tevesh Szat, and that'll cause us to draw 4 cards. And we've got kind of wanted to hit a critical density of creatures. So we've got the creatures that produce mana. Skirk Prospector, mana battery. Reckless Barbarian, mana battery. Goblin, whatever. Blood Pet, these guys. But then we've also got the ones that give us value for sacrificing them. We Skull Clamp this guy, and we make, when it dies, create X tapped 1/1 green creature tokens where X is Nested Shambler's power. That's funny. This is not the card that I meant to put in. I wanted the black one that, whatever. This is fine. We can use this. We can work with this. It's not that bad. Ornithopter, Phyrexian Walker. We've got ways to farm value. So farm our creatures out for value. Grind engines to stay in a later game, because sometimes you'll go to a later game. And the deck is very well equipped to do that. It's not a problem at all. So basically, we're either going to fire off a very fast Adnauseum and win or not win, or we're going to fire off a Peer into the Abyss, win or not win, usually win. But if not, we have the tools to grind. And we've got like Kirizev's Expertise and Claim the Firstborn, these types of effects where we can just like yoink one of our opponent's commanders, do whatever their thing is that their commander does, and then Skull Clamp it and or sacrifice it with Tevesh Szat, draw a bunch of cards. And so we can grind value, or we can go for a turbo win. And again, the win conditions are going to be reiterate, copying, Inner Fire, buy the reiterate back, cast it again, Inner Fire, buy it back, cast it again, so on and so forth to make infinite mana, and then infinitely Ghostfire Slice everybody to death. Or probably the main win con. Oh, also, if we make infinite mana, we've got Cut to Ribbons. We can cast the cut, deal 4 damage to target creature, and then when it's in our graveyard, we need 2 black mana for this, but we make the infinite red. Then we can cast the Aftermath effect and deal X damage to each opponent, or each opponent loses X life. We've got even some discard spells. I think people sleep on those in general, but especially in budget decks that are trying to go fast. And even if we're grinding, it's not the worst thing. So that's kind of the deck in a nutshell. But I think maybe we should did I even talk about Springleaf Drum? I don't remember. So that's another good way to use your 0 mana commander. Or for that matter, it's a good way to use your 0/1 Thrall tokens. So I thought this was the best way to go for a budget build that really effectively utilizes Rograhk. Now, in my Goldfishing, it's like maybe half of the games, it ends up playing out like a grindy... That's why I ended up putting a bunch of removal spells and countermeasures and value engines, because the deck does sometimes just go long, and it can do that. But kind of the ideal thing, and what happens maybe a third of the time, is we're just like turn 4, Adnauseum, win the game. Or at the end of turn 3, cast Adnauseum, untap, win the game. Or turn 4 or 5, peer into the abyss, win the game. But, you know, it doesn't have to do that. That was the goal of the deck, and it does work a surprising amount of the time. We've got these depletion lands too, so we've got lots of ways to get to a lot of mana really fast, and we've got a lot of ways to spend the mana, even if it's not the way that we exactly intended, right? Like, let's just do some... Sure, I think. Yeah, I mean, we keep this. Yeah, we keep this for sure. Okay, let's draw for turn. That's pretty good. So we'll play our tap land. We're going to play our Rograhk. And we want to use a Simian Spirit Guide now to get the Springleaf Drum. That's always a tough one. Do we want to burn this now to get Springleaf Drum, or do we want to wait and play that next turn? Let's do it next turn. Okay, Smoldering Marsh. Springleaf Drum. Let's go. Can we just go? Black. No, we need 3 mana. So wait, we've got... Go black and 2 red. So that's 3. Spend one of those 3 to make 4 is 6. And 7. We're 1 mana short of being able to Wishclaw for Adnauseum and then cast the Adnauseum on this turn 2. So, yeah, pretty good. What did we do? Did we play this? So maybe we just drop Wishclaw. Probably this way, and then we're gonna go next turn, or wait, 1 2 3 4, yeah, that's fine. All right, and then we can either wait until the end of our it's on turn 3. I mean, it kind of depends on what's going on, but maybe what we'd want to do is use this Wishclaw Talisman, right? And tutor up Adnauseum. And then we could use the last 2 counters here for 1 2 mana, 3 4 5. Use one of the 5 on that to make 4, so that's 8 mana. So we've got 8 mana, and we cast our Adnauseum on turn 3. And 2. So we've got how many floating? 3 mana floating? Yeah, 5, and we had 8. 3 mana floating. Okay, we've taken 2, 3 damage. 6 damage. Oh, that's a big one. 11 damage. 13. 14, 15. Let's not whiff. 16. 17, 18. 19, 20. 21, 22, 23. Not looking good. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. It depends on like what happens so far. It's only turn 3. We could probably go deeper. Let's go to 35. 32, 32, 33, 34, 35. All right, did we get there? So the question is, do we have a way to find our... Okay, so we've got 3 mana, and we need to find Dualcaster Mage. That's the thing we need. Oh, well, I guess, or the other end of the Reiterate combo. So we can turn whatever red mana into whatever... Like, we're set on mana, really. We just need to have a way to find our thing. Damn it, did we frickin' whiff? There's gotta be a way. 3 mana. This would give us 4 mana. 5 mana. Let's just say this is middle. This is 5, so we cast 3. So we go to 2. And then 7. So we're at 7 mana. And I don't know if 7's going to be enough. We can wash it into black if we need 7. How many do we have any creatures in the graveyard? We should have put Roger in the graveyard. So the only way we could do this is we would have to turn this. So this would be 3 mana. We'd have to turn it into an actual effective tutor. And then cast the tutor and still have enough mana to cast Twin Flame and Dualcaster Mage. Ah, this sucks. What if we... Oh, wait, we've got Mausoleum Secrets. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to arrange for 3 creatures to die. And this is going to be an easy one that can die. And we've got this guy. Do we have any way to sacrifice it? I'm sure I'm missing something stupid. We could kill it with a removal spell. We could skull clamp it. Skull clamp doesn't quite work. We could skull clamp it and then remove it. Skull clamp it, kill it, draw 2. Use one of our billion red mana on this, clamp this, make even more mana. So we'd get a treasure there. Then we would... Oh, we could have sacrificed one of those with Flare of Duplication for free. Yeah, so we got there. So we have to use the Mausoleum Secrets. Oh, fuck, it only finds black cards. Oh, no. Huh. How are we doing on time? Whoa. Whoa. Not bad. So I have most definitely lost track of how much mana that we had. But I think what we'd end up doing is we'd have to... we would have had to have cast the Mausoleum Secrets, and instead of using mana to get rid of one of our dudes, sack the Flare of Duplication, and then we could search for 2 things. One of those could be Dark Ritual, and one of them could be the Transmute for a 3 mana thing. So we've got the 3 mana Transmute thing, and a Dark Ritual, so that would give us 3 more mana. I have no idea how much mana we're supposed to have. Let's say we put this thing out, we sacked it to the Flare of Duplication and cast the Mausoleum Secrets, and we find the Transmute Tutor Dark Ritual, cast the Dark Ritual, and I think that's probably enough mana. And then we do Twin Flame Dualcaster Mage. You'll have to add that up at home, guys. Let's go to the next one. Well, so, I mean, obviously, we don't have to try to win the game on turn 3, but that's, you know, we would get there some of the time. What I don't know what... Oh, this is for transmuting into Adnauseum. I was going to say, why do I have the 5 mana one? Alright, let's do it again. See, this is a little complicated. That was sketchy. I think we would take a second 7. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Draw for turn. Play our Roger. Play this little guy out. Play a land. Go to our next turn. Play a land. Tap 2. One of them's red. No, we'll do this. 1, 2, 3. No, let's do the other. One's red, one's black, so that has 2 counters in it. Next turn, we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get our commander out. Tevesh Szat, sacrificing. Let's see. We just sacrifice this guy so we don't have to, because we're going to end up discarding anyway. So we sack that to draw 2 cards with our Tevesh Szat. Go to our next turn. Okay. And here we're just kind of grinding and digging and looking for a way to go. So maybe we do Faithless Looting. Draw 2 cards and discard 2. Maybe we start getting creatures in our graveyard if we're not going to need them. We need to discard another thing. Yeah, I think we're set on mana. And that was turn 4. Do it this way. Yeah, then we go to our next turn. Did I use this guy? Craig. I know I definitely used it on turn 3. Right? I don't believe I have used my Tevesh Szat this turn. So let's yeah, let's maybe we'll make a couple of tokens and try to go a little bit harder next time. Or do we just get the, let's just grab 3. Let's put that in the command zone, draw 3. And kind of sucks. Next turn. We could blow somebody's stuff up. Let's go 2 mana. 1, 2. To cast our commander, sacrifice it, put it back in the zone, draw 3. There's the pier. Alright. So this took a little bit longer, but you know, we've got things we can do. We could like 1, 2, 3, snatch somebody's commander. We could have snatched somebody else's commander instead of sacking ours again. Snatch somebody's commander and sacrifice it to draw the cards that we drew. And the 2 mana spell that we can cast off it is this and kill somebody else's commander. Leave that in the graveyard, so we've got a mana sink. Then we go to our discard. We can just discard the probably Cabal Ritual. Then we can use that if we feel like we need it. Well, no. Yeah, sure. And then next turn. And now we're going to just cast a Peer into the Abyss. And that's going to make it pretty hard to lose. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're sacrificing this guy. And no, we have not used Tevesh. So that might come up. So we've got 2 mana floating. Or 2 lands unused, I should say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And draw half of our deck. Now, we're not really going to go through this, but, I mean, our Dark Ritual pretty much seals the deal in my book. Mausoleum Secrets. Could even do that. Oh, yeah, last chance. We can take another turn and untap after we sculpt the perfect winning hand. Yeah, we got there. We for sure got there. Now, this is a little later, but also we were able to put up a fight and do some things. We found another good tutor. So, like, even if we had to, if we couldn't put together a win for whatever reason on this turn, we could cast our last chance, and then we discard all of our creatures, and we'd have our Song of the Damned ready to go. So on our next turn, which we'd get as a freebie, right? Last chance is a take another turn, lose the game at the end of that turn. But we'll have, like, I don't know, 8 creatures in the graveyard, and cast Song of the Damned and Dark Ritual and Mausoleum Secrets. This will 100% without a doubt get us there. So that was a little bit of a grindier game. Time? 30 minutes. All right. So you guys, you saw kind of one attempt at a turbo, and add it up and see. I think I got there. Certainly if I had time to process it and I was really thinking it through in a game, I would have put that one together. I feel pretty confident. And you don't have to go off on turn 3 all the time. And then this game, I think, it kind of just depends on what else was going on, but we would have gotten off a it would have been pretty hard to lose if we got all of that to resolve right there, or even just the Peer into the Abyss to resolve. What the hell? Let's look at one more hand. We don't have any ramp. We've got a little bit of ramp. Got the Adnauseum. The deck is built of mana. Let's try it. No, we don't even have black mana. Let's not try it. Restart. That's interesting. I'm at 32 lands in the deck. Maybe we want to go to 33. So we've got, this is tough. Wish I knew what I was going to draw. Let's go to 6. Oh boy. Let's go to 5. Well, I guess this is where we're going to stop. It's not always going to work, guys. All right. Draw. That helps. Next turn. Would we do the Pete? Probably. Yeah, that's awkward. I wish we would have had that turn 1. I think we would just ignore the Pete Bog and cast this. Maybe. We could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and put our commander out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tevesh. We haven't played a land yet. Let's sack him. Draw 3. 1, 2, 3. And there's nothing else we really want to do right now, so Pete Bog is fine. Next turn. This was a kind of a low mulligan. I think probably we would cast our commander again. 1, 2, and use Tevesh to sack him again. 1, 2, 3, and maybe we would cast that, and well, we've got the brain spoil now, so we can at least transmute that into Adnauseum. What would we be? I guess we just go to discard. And discard a land. Next turn. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana available. So we could transmute Brain Spoil into Adnauseum for 3 mana. Cast the Adnauseum. That's 5 mana. And we'd have 1 mana floating, and probably what I would want to do is transmute this into Adnauseum, and then so you could do an interaction check. You could use the extra mana, cast the extra mana on this to target the person you think is most likely to be able to stop you, and then you'd still have enough mana to transmute this into Adnauseum and then cast the Adnauseum if the coast seems clear. But there is no guarantee that you're going to be able to get the Adnauseum to go and work and win the game on your turn. So maybe the right thing to do would be like transmute this into Adnauseum. So 1, a 2, 3, a 3. And then wait until the end step before your untap or whenever is an opportune time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cast the Adnauseum. This is our Adnauseum. On end step before our turn. 1, 2. That looks good. 3. Yeah, this is what an Adnauseum is supposed to look like. 4. I've only taken 4 damage here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's 15, 17, 18, 20, 20. Ooh. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I'll just go one more biff. Oh, 37. That might have just killed us. You never know. So, if you have Peer into the Abyss and you've got in the deck yet and you've got like 7 life or less, you want to be real careful. Let's just say we stop before that. And then we go to our next turn. And we have all of these cards in our hand, and there's no way that we don't win. We can put something together here for sure. We've got the Gamble as a tutor. We've got this as a tutor, so we could gamble. With all these cards in hand, probably the easiest thing to do is use all of our rituals like Simian Spirit Guide, Soul Ring, Rite of Flame. Make a couple of dudes with... make a couple of 0/1s so we can convert no, I guess we don't need that. Yeah, I mean, no way we can't get there. We just have to use all these rituals, make all this mana, and find the dual caster mage with the gamble, but you've got like a billion cards in hand, so you're not going to discard it likely. And then shred memory to find the twin flame. You'll cast the Twin Flame on your Goldhound, hold priority, cast the Dual Caster Mage. And if somebody messes with you, you can sacrifice the Goldhound to Flare of Duplication, their counterspell. If you didn't feel real confident about the way that was all looking, you could cast one of your other dudes so that you can... Whatever, however you want to do it. The world is your oyster. You could even... get as far as almost winning the game, cast all the things, really get established and ready to go, cast Last Chance, go to your free turn, untap, and then definitely assemble the win. So I think the deck works. It's obviously not a, budgetless Turbo Adnauseum deck, but, sometimes it wins on turn 3, and sometimes it whiffs, and sometimes it can go into a grindy game. So I'm happy with it. I would feel comfortable playing it in a pod. And I think that it's one of those decks that would take some time to really get the hang of. Honestly, even in cEdh, I don't play Turbo Adnauseum, which you may have figured out by watching this video. But I think that's it, nerds. Oh, damn. I think that's it, nerds. So until next time, word to your mothers, namaste, east side until I die, peace be with you, may the force be with you, and also with you. I feel like I already wasted all my things. Word to your fathers, namaste, nerds.